Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be finishing up the fuel system finally. I know we've done the E85 sensor, we did the E85 wiring, we've done the fuel pump wiring with the Hobbs switch. We have also done installing the fuel pump. Today we'll be finalizing by emptying the tank, creating the lines, and then actually drilling and tapping the fuel tank for the AN fitting to go to feed the new pump. So like I said, you know, we're gonna finally be finishing this fuel system up. I'm gonna drain the tank. It's gonna be kind of a little ghetto how I'm gonna do this. Usually I would drain it from the firewall part forward, you know, put like a 3/8 hose on the edge of the firewall, run it to a external gas can. Well, today, since I have to disconnect the fuel line anyway to put that adapter block in, what I'm going to do is actually I'm just going to take my I have a race can, just put my race can and like duct tape a big funnel to it and basically just hang it off the car and have it go into the race can. That way I can be over here in the fuse panel jumping the relay with a just test wire, activating the pump and getting all the gas into the race can. There's only like a 1/16 of a gallon left in the car. Like I pretty much put this thing almost on E, but I know there'll still be a little bit of gas in there and I don't want to be drilling into the tank with any gas in it. So hopefully this cleans up whatever is left in the tank and then we can get started on finishing up the system. What I have is I just have a oil pan, you know, just to catch any gas when I initially disconnect the fuel line. Got your quick disconnect tool and you need the 3/8 side of it. Paper towels to clean up any mess. And like I said, I had a really long funnel that was narrow. Then I slipped this 3/8 hose over the end of the funnel and I just put some duct tape on the end of it. Now I tried to slide it off. It's pretty on there, pretty tight with the pressure, but I just duct tape it just so that it'll not move. And then you got your gas can, and it's just gonna slide in here and I will duct tape this to the car and get that fuel line in here. Then I'll start priming the pump with the fuse panel, pump the rest of the gas that's in the car, in this particular tank, out and into the tank. So that should work, I hope. Let's get started on removing the 3/8 line. What you can do is pull, there's a plastic tab holding the fuel line to the fuel tank. Pull that out. You get a little bit more room. 3/8 tool into here and I'll pop that loose. Okay guys, as you can see, I got the fuel line disconnected. I end up using the disconnect tool, got it in there wedged, popped it up and pulled it down. That's the one coming straight out of the pump, so that's where I'm going to put the funnel. This line that has the U in it and going back upward, that is the line coming from the car going to the fuel rail and the injectors up front. So we don't really need to worry about that because the fuel pump will be pushing fuel out of the hose that's facing downward and that'll get right into that funnel and should go right into our tank. Okay guys, this looks like something out of a bad fraternity party with a beer bong, but anyway, what I've done is I stuck the funnel as close as I could to the down line coming out of the fuel pump. I put some duct tape around the edge of the fuel pump line and directed it into the funnel, so I think I should catch most of the fuel there. And then what will happen, it'll come down, follow the rubber hose and into, that is fuel injection hose, and go into the gas can. And I do have an oil pan down here just in case it decides to leak. We want to pull the fuse harness for the fuel pump. That's gonna be number 55. I've had to replace this a few times, so kind of getting to be a master of which one is the fuel pump. So pull the 55 fuse pump out. Okay guys, here's the test wire. It's just some 10 or 12 gauge wire. Actually, I'm not sure what gauge it is, but it's just some wire with the ends cut off, and you're just going to jump the relay. Jump the relay by putting the wire in one corner, then into the other. So now that the tank is empty, it is time to start drilling holes in the gas tank. Okay guys, since we got the fuel line disconnected, we might as well go ahead and connect the adapter that goes in place. Like I showed earlier, this will basically allow you to go in line with the factory fuel line coming out of the fuel tank, going to the feed line, going to the front of the car. So with this 90 in here, this will allow you to insert another fuel source, in this case the external fuel pump, and the fuel will go from here to here back to the factory feed system. So let's get started installing this. Shouldn't take too long. I mean, it's literally just should be plug and play. Okay guys, now we actually install the adapter. My recommendation will be to start with the pump side first. It should go up and in. So it should just snap in. Okay, so that's snapped in. Another recommendation, take the 90 off. We give you a little bit more room to work here. And let's figure out the body side. Okay guys, that went in pretty smooth. Okay guys, we're back under the Corvette trying to get the fuel system done. You'll notice one thing. Over here on the feed line going to the motor, you'll notice that I swapped out the straight fitting for 45-degree fitting. And as you will see, it actually kind of comes out of the straight fitting. The 45-degree bend goes out and down. And that's kind of a perfect angle for it to line up with the bottom fitting of the output of the fuel pump. So basically the PTFE line is going to go from this bottom line straight into this fitting. To feed the fuel pump, we'll go from the top here down over to the tank, and it'll be something like this. This is obviously just a rough layout for now, but it'll be something like that. And obviously this will be like a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch into the tank. And if I have to, I may have to get another 45 to angle this upward. I don't think I will, but we'll see. So we'll go from here up to the input of the fuel pump. Okay guys, as you can see, I pulled the fuel pump out of the car just because I know that measuring, cutting, and getting these fittings all straightened out is going to be kind of a pain in the ass. So this is going to be that PTFE line going to the feed line for the motor. It's going to go into the stock fuel line going to the front of the car. So I've made my mark. I need to cut it. I have my mark. You can barely see it. It's this little blue kind of dry line on here. And basically I did some research, and the best way to cut these is actually with a sharp chisel. So this is a brand new chisel that I just picked up locally. It's a 1-inch chisel. Okay guys, I've gotten the hose cut. And the next step you want to do is put these outer AN fittings on. And these basically are what's going to thread. And you're going to want to do this before you remove the outer rubber coating. And to remove the outer rubber coating, you're going to want to measure about 7/16 of an inch. And I have a small black mark here. And then you're going to use this little pipe cutter. I picked this up locally. It was less than $10, maybe it was $11. And basically what it's going to do is allow you to cut through the outer rubber layer without having to cut into the braided stainless AN line covering. And you just mark your 7/16 and then put your cutter on here. As you can see, I've got a good line. I'm going to tighten a little bit more. 3 turns, well, 3/4 turns. And eventually this will cut right through the rubber outer layer. And we're pretty much good. So loosen your cutter, grab your pliers again, and your rubber coating will come right off. I'd say that's like a, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch thick. It's not too thick. And boom, there you go. Okay, so now that your Teflon hose is cut, you've removed the outer rubber layer. You want to put your ferrule in, but before we can do that, what we need to do is to use a little screwdriver and pull the braided stainless lines away from the hose. And with that, you'll be able to slide your ferrule over the Teflon. And now we're going to want to, actually that's on there pretty well. You want to use a solid surface, so I'm going to use this, my cutting board. And looks like we got a good seal all the way around. We can grab our fitting, and this end we're going to use the 45-degree end. Yep, we're tight all the way around. Push your fitting back in, and then basically tighten it down. Push the threaded AN fitting up a little bit, and it finally caught the fitting. So now we just tighten it. It's got my AN wrench on the fitting, and I put some tape on the outer part, and we'll just tighten this. Okay guys, I finally got this one tightened. Like I said, I just had to push this outer AN fitting just a little bit into the threaded part coming off the main, this 45-degree fitting, and I was able to finally get that tight. And just, you know, I put my tape on it and just tape it. You know, I just put one layer of tape on this part, held this line on the outer fitting, and just twisted it until it finally got tight. So should be good here. Gotta do this one more time. Finally got the fuel line done, all tightened up. But like I said earlier in previous videos, I've just put a little bit of blue painter's tape on here and taped it up, and just you know, go to town with your wrenches. I got the bottom line fully assembled, tightened. That's pretty much it for the return system. I'm sorry, the feed system going from the pump to the fuel line. Basically what we're going to do is be drilling 3 inches from the seam and 2 3/4 from the bottom. So what I have now is I'm just doing my pilot hole with my air powered drill. So let's do the pilot hole first, and I have a oil can just in case there's still gas in here. There shouldn't be, but didn't see any gas come out. Okay guys, you can see I have a hole in the tank. I actually used a stepped bit for that, but I didn't realize that I actually had a bigger unibit to put in here. So currently there's a 1/2 inch hole in there, and the drill bit I have for my drill that won't fit because the suspension and stuff is in the way is a 17/32. The closest unibit size is a 5/8, but I think the 11/16 is just a little bit too big. So I'm going to try drilling it to the 5/8 mark, so 3, you know, to the 3rd visible line, and we'll go from there. Now it's time to see if the tap's going to fit. Okay guys, the tap actually calls for this is a 18 gauge NPT tap. The drill size actually calls for a 37/64 bit, but the problem that I saw was that, again, another one of these odd sizes that you can't find. And from what I saw on the Corvette forum, people recommended going down in size, so that's why I tried the 17/32, which is one size down. But the problem is, like I said, is the stupid bit won't fit into my 90-degree gun, and then you've got the suspension in the way, and plus using electricity around gas vapors. I don't want to be dealing with that. So here's my 18 NPT thread, and we're going to use a 1/2 inch drive socket to try to thread this in. Okay guys, as you can see, I've done the final installation on the 18 NPT threaded 90-degree fitting to the dash 18. I'm sorry, the dash 8. Then to continue with the install, I'm going to have the fuel filter, inline fuel filter. This is just from Russell. It's the dash 8, and then we're gonna have probably another 45 fitting to go up here, and then that'll go to the fuel pump. Okay guys, I have a little test wire here. I have this running to the positive side of the fuel pump, and this test wire is going down the car below, and like I said, it's hooked to the positive side of the fuel pump. And as you're about to see, the fuel pump is working. I disconnected the feed line going from the fuel pump to the fuel line going to the firewall going to the motor. I disconnected it there, and as about to see, you're going to see the pump run, and you're going to see the fuel coming out of the pump. Okay guys, I actually finished up the wiring too. What you can't see is any wires. So here's the hob switch, the wire coming out of the hob switch. So what I did was I actually tied into the jumper harness that I have for the E85 sensor. That harness has a 12 switched wire. It also has a chassis ground wire. So what I did was I added the ground for the hob switch to the ground for the E85 sensor, and then the 12 volt switched power source for the relay, I ran that to the jumper harness as well. So I don't have a individual ground for the hob switch coming out of the switch and then finding a random chassis spot. I tied into the engine loom, the engine ground harness for that. Your relays, you can't actually see the relay, but the relay is down here. See that right there where it says Japan? That is actually the relay. So what I did was I took the bolt out for the hood latch, I widened the hole on the relay a little bit, and I fed that bolt through the relay and retightened it down for that. So as you can see down there, there's a couple extra wires down there, but it's pretty clean and pretty well hidden. So you got 4 wires coming out of this relay. 1 is power. That's this one. I haven't plugged it in yet. 2 is your hob switch signal. That's going to the hob switch. 3 is going to be the fuel pump wire. That's down. I ran it through the chassis. And actually all I had to do was I didn't take the side skirt off. I didn't have to take the splash guard off either. All I did was I took the bottom access panel for the fender well liner. There's like 3 10mm bolts. I took that off. I just loosened it, grabbed the harness, and I ran it through the rocker panel to the back, and I'll show you when we get back there. So that's your 3rd wire. Wire is going to be the output to the hob switch. So like I said, 1st wire, power coming from the alternator. 2nd wire going through the relay, back down through the fuel pump. 3rd wire is going to be your 12 volt switch, okay? And then your 4th wire is going to be going to the hob switch. So those are the 4 wires coming out of the relay. Everything has been heat shrunk tubed. I use solder on every joint. Heat shrink tubing is, you can see it right there. I used wire loom. I used some really good quality 3M tape, electrical tape, and everything is wrapped and hidden as best as I can. And where I made the junction point with the jumper harness, it's all buried underneath the coolant and fuel line, so you won't see that either. So it's a pretty neat setup having no extra wires. Okay guys, as you can see down the rocker panel, I have wire in the loom, but here's the fuel pump and the AN fittings coming out of it. You get the fuel pump supply coming out of the fuel tank. It's going through a Russell fuel filter, coming into another 90, going through the PTFE hose, going into the top of the fuel pump. The output is another 90, and that's actually 180 degree fitting coming up and going into the fuel pump. Coming out of the fuel pump is another AN 90, going through PTFE hose, going to the input on the fuel line, which I showed earlier. I just have it disconnected now because I was testing the fuel pump. That's your pretty much the external fuel system. Okay guys, you can see the fuel pump. I took the protective paint off, the painter's tape off of the fittings, but you can also see that the fuel pump is fully wired. The positive terminal is here, going down through the rocker panel and up forward. The ground strap, 13mm bolt there, I actually put the ground strap behind the mount. I figured since I'd already drilled a hole through the chassis that mount was going to be a really good ground. So that ground strap is going to one of the mounts for the fuel pump, and then it's going to the opposite side. But like I said, the fuel system is fully done. Okay guys, as you saw, the car fired up with no problem. It took a little while to fire up. I don't know if that's because of the smaller pulley, it's seeing more boost, but at idle the car shouldn't be seeing any boost, and I don't know if it's compensating by dumping more fuel or the fact that there's more fuel line and another pump. I'm not really sure. I'll have to look into that, but the car's firing up. I did check under the car for leaks in the back and that whole secondary fuel pump and setup. Nothing's wrong on there. I do have to plug in the power for the secondary fuel pump, but like I said earlier in the other videos, that's not going to get activated until the Hob switch sees 5 psi anyway. It's a 13mm bolt on the alternator. I'll connect that before I hit the dyno. So that's going to wrap up this portion of the build. Thanks guys for watching this part of the build. You know, I know it's been like 6 videos or however many videos it's been, so it's kind of long, but I wanted to go in-depth detail on all the steps of the build, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Thanks and have a great day.